This is one of the unsolved mysteries
One
of
of
the
the
world.
top 10 bloodshed
Still
cases.
unsolved. This is 1959.
Really?
The Dyatlov incident that actually
The
happened. The official answer to the matter remains vague. The overall case is full of bizarre details. Looking back now, it's still chilling. Is it the supernatural force at work, or is the official deliberately concealing it? Or in this world, there really are some unknown creatures. Hello, I am the Universal Ceremony. Today, we talk about 64 years ago. A shocking election in Russia. Dyatlov incident. Northern Ural Mountains. A strange case that shocked the world happened. 9 students from the Ural Institute of Technology. Mysterious death while attempting to challenge Mount Otto, including Mount Vine on the eastern slope of the Ural Mountains. It's not too high, only 1,097 meters. But when the rescuers found their bodies, the situation at the scene stunned everyone. The 2 deceased fell near the woodland, about a kilometer by the woods. A bonfire was also found nearby. The temperature that night had dropped to -30 degrees. These 2 people are only wearing underwear. No other clothes on me. Levi's, neatly arranged in the snow. She was wearing a blanket. Preliminary break. It should have been put together after death. It was made like this on purpose. From the way it is placed, it is impossible to determine whether the murderer did it or not. A blanket covering the body seems to have compassion for the corpse. I don't want them to die too ugly. And on a big tree next to the body, it's about 5 meters high. Broken branch found. The investigation team Someone must have tried to climb a tree and look around, and the direction he looked, it should be towards the camp. Follow-up rescue workers in camps and forests. 3 other bodies were found. One of the skull fractures. No obvious trauma on the others, except for the doubt of fracture. The rescue team believes that all 5 of them died of hypothermia. Hypothermia can disrupt your brain, make you feel cold, sluggish hallucinations, or even fever. So in extreme cold, when the body temperature is below dangerously low temperatures, some of the victims will remove their clothes. This phenomenon is known as abnormal stripping, and the remaining 4 victims waited 2 months later. It was only found far from the camp. Surprisingly, I found these 4 people later. Where? The clothes on the first 2 victims found. According to the photos taken before departure, it can be clearly seen. What style of clothes did the 9 people wear? So why? The clothes of the first 2 deceased will be worn on. What about the other victims? So far, no reasonable explanation has been obtained. Follow-up. According to the investigators' description, their clothes were in tatters. It's like being bitten by some beast. And 4 of them were seriously injured. Their ribs were crushed. One of the students had a fractured skull, eyeballs gouged out. There is also a female player. The tongue doesn't know what creature it is. Forcibly dragged down. The police immediately conducted a preliminary examination of the body. According to police speculation, the first 2 to die were near the fire. They were stripped naked. Clothes were distributed among others. 3 dead found in the middle of the forest and camp. Probably the second batch of victims they should have seen by the fire. Murderer. Out of fear, they instinctively ran towards the camp. And death? They were found 2 months later. But several of the deceased were seriously injured. That's not possible. It's man-made. What's even more surprising is that on the deceased, the clothes are still around the nearby camp. Radioactive material was found. Follow-up at their funeral. Relatives found their faces look like they've been exposed to the sun, or got sunburned by something. Some of the victims' hair turned gray. That's the tent at the field camp. It was cut with a knife from the inside. The tent is facing the woods. There are also a few unknown small holes. It feels like the dead are in the tent. Cut a few small holes with a knife. Observe what's going on outside. But they are afraid that the murderer outside will find them. So a few people in the tent at that time, possibly the second batch of deceased, they ran back to the tent from the direction of the forest fire. These people, it is very likely that he saw the real culprit in this
After
case.
the
9 victims were found, the investigation team released its preliminary case inferences. Experts first believed that the cause of death of these 9 people was
This
a blood
theory
avalanche.
can explain
why did the deceased. There are traumas too severe for humans to cause. But it doesn't explain a few people with mountaineering experience choose a place so cold to set up camp. Even if no one in the team has mountaineering experience, in the wilderness, frosty place, it's impossible for someone to choose to sleep naked. One more thing, if there is an avalanche, they're going to rush out of the tent. Why poke a few small holes in the tent first? Observe the outside. And avalanches cannot explain the appearance of radioactive material. Can't explain. Avalanche. Why did the female player lose her tongue? Even with so many loopholes, the official date is July 11, 2020. Still announced to the media, findings of the Dyatarov incident. Due to poor visibility at that time, the climbers leave the camp. They couldn't get back into the tent, eventually lead to death. Long-lost climber because of hypothermia. There may be collective hallucinations, physical fever, or mutilation of the other party. But even if the official public inspection results, so far, and countless others, the investigation into the truth of the case is still ongoing. 1990 was involved in the investigation of the Dyatarov incident. An investigator said in an interview, 6 months after the murder, a mysterious officer found him. The officer told him to end the investigation immediately. Put all the investigation results, all classified as top secret, relevant investigation to be handed over to the relevant departments immediately. The investigator said in 1990 what he suspected at the time. Now, he can be sure. Dyatarov thing. This is directly related to a flying sphere. There is a testimony in his investigative materials that year. The testimony comes from 50 kilometers south of the incident. Another expedition camped here at that time. Confirmed to be from the expedition as well. The expedition, on the night of the incident, saw a strange light in the night sky. It's like the aurora. There are also many changes in color. As the light fades, they are in the night sky. Saw a yellow sphere. He's just floating there. Suddenly, this sphere, after emitting a dazzling white light, disappear into the night sky. The investigator guessed this sphere should be a classified military weapon, maybe in the test flight stage, because there was some kind of malfunction. Fell near the camp of the 9 messengers. After the team members in the tent saw the sphere, wake up the others. The sphere exploded as they ran towards the forest. Killed several players with serious injuries on their bodies, and fractured the skull of one of the team members. The rest of the team ran outside in fright. The team members who ran out because of the extremely eventually cold weather died of hypothermia. All radioactive materials, all caused by the explosion of the sphere. The explosion also caused the faces of some of the victims, like being burned by the sun or heat. So the investigator thinks the location of the tragedy, it is the legendary secret experimental area of the Soviet Union. The basis of this theory is a military boot cover. That year, the investigation team found one at the scene. Soviet boot covers. At that time, the investigation team 9 students. The team members who were going to climb the mountain together. He left the team early because he was unwell to survive. As a result, this boot cover did not belong to the 9 victims. So the investigator thinks the military conducted a secret operation at this missile test, accidentally killed these people. And the military also after the accident rushed to the location and faked the accident scene. Accidentally left military boot is the strongest evidence. So the Soviet authorities just made this a top secret. This seems like a very reasonable explanation. In fact, it was also overturned 2 months after the revelation. First of all, it is impossible to explain why the female victim. Secondly, throughout the surrounding area where they were killed, no traces of explosives were found. The military is also following. All aircraft passing through the area were disclosed. There are even a few space launch sites. Also made public all launch records for this phase. This also there were no explosions in the area. We don't have any flight infrastructure. At the same time, the mountaineering team was killed. Appear in the Ural Mountains. Because of the disclosure of this information, many people choose to believe the official, so they point to extraterrestrial life again. They believe that near the camp, there is an alien base, or aliens passing by. When preparing to return to base, 9 victims were maimed. Violent aliens dealt with it. The investigator and another leader of the mountaineering team. It's an alien spacecraft. Burns on the faces of some team members. It could be the searchlight under the aircraft. Irradiated. The female victim's tongue was also taken by aliens. As for radioactive materials, if there are aliens, it becomes reasonable. This unknown creature is known as the Russian Bigfoot, Russian snow monster. It is also what we often call a snowman or a giant. This theory, it is currently the most widely supported theory. This is because the Discovery Channel once published a documentary investigating the Dyatlov incident. The entire 87-minute film shows a complete chain of evidence for the appearance of the Yeti. This documentary argues 9 of the emissaries suffered serious injuries. Ribs are shattered, skull fracture, eyeballs gouged out, tongue ripped off. This shows that they were met with a prolonged period of violence. These scars are enough to explain. It can't be a human force. There must be some powerful creatures caused such a serious injury. After investigation, the people who went up the mountain to participate in the rescue of very deep footprints. These footprints were not left by the victim. If we can solve the mystery of these footprints, we'll solve the mystery of Dyatlov. The investigator in the documentary. The first suspects are the Mansi who live down the mountain. The Mansi are the local indigenous people. They lived at the foot of the mountain thousands of years ago. They are very independent, do not trust outsiders, and do not have contact with the outside sacrifice world. In 1930, he also murdered a mistaken intruder. Intra-tribal geologists. What a coincidence. Victim. The place where they live is a sacred place for the Mansi people are not allowed in. Several victims. The camera also caught strange symbols on the tree. Symbolic description. The victims had entered Mansi shrines. But after a series of investigations, Mansi suspicions have also been ruled out. Because they are also ordinary humans, they can't do more than humans. However, under investigation, you let them find another misunderstanding. The place of death was not a sacred place for the Mansi. It is a forbidden place for the Mansi. 60-year-old Albina Endyamova was just 5 years old when the hikers went missing. But she says she will never forget what happened. Man, you take that schedule, it's not once. Man, you go to work, you to the stupid, work it out. Since ancient times, the Mansi people have had an ancestral motto. No one is allowed to enter the area, because there are some other creatures live in that forest. That forest, it has been called King's Mountain by the Mansi people for generations, because there are the creatures the Mansi fear the most. May. Put it away, kill yourself and eat it. The key is not to eat. You're not moving. Takoi Swiss. Chronicle. Resource. Charlie just can't wish this note. No longer Struzzle. He's not. No. Ming. To Miss Knight. But Troy Sidney. Then you go right through socket. Dorset Raintopia. of Margot. When she talked about the dead deer they had found missing their tongues. Of course, it just made me think of Ludmilla. They found her with her tongue ripped up. This mank, in the mouth of the Mansi people, it is powerful. It's pretty violent. They often make a kind of whistle-like sound. The sound is scary. Investigators feel that this appeers to be a direction. Just go home. Use the internet to search for relevant information. A video just appeared. Myself, what could this thing be? So I went online to research the mank, and I found this video. This is a video from a hiker in Siberia. Really closely, you can hear them calling mank. Also because of the appearance of this diatribe time with Bigfoot Savage. The snowman is involved. Russia. Actually, the legend of Bigfoot has been around for a long time. Many primitive tribes experienced in Russia. Bigfoot. The relevant description of the savage. In the follow-up investigation, investigators were among the victim's cameras. Found a photo like this. Except for this photo of Bayern Munich, there are also some photos of crooked trees. To determine the authenticity of the photo, they seek official assistance. Finally, with official assistance, they had the negative of the photograph. Because of this negative, many people think the victims may have filmed the real killer. But this result doesn't seem to explain the problem with radioactive materials. What do you think? It doesn't seem to be reasonable for aliens to come. So for now, Dyatrov incident, still no authoritative explanation. It can only be subject to the latest official announcement. Determined him to be an avalanche affair. Good friend, what's your different opinion? Where you have the core information of the incident, you can discuss with me in the comment area. I am Universal My Physician. Channel explores the universe and unsolved mysteries. Interested friends, remember to subscribe. See you next time.